Hey, and welcome to my review of Rustler. In the next several minutes I'm gonna show you what you have to expect from the GTA-inspired medieval top-down RPG. First, we head to the story of the game. We play the character Guy, and start in a village that is in a chaotic state, with a cow on a roof. Yes, Guy managed to get a cow on a roof. And even though this is only the tutorial part, it shows what type of humor you get in the next 7 to 10 hours. After the tutorial mission, we already know a little bit more about what we can expect. As probably most know, we have to win a tournament. Yeah, the main story is not the deepest, and surely not the strongest part of the game. In the main plot, they go for a GTA-style act system, which means that you have to unlock the second island via the main plot. When you manage to unlock the second island, you get greeted with the best part of the plot. I don't want to go too much into the detail, what is coming next, but if you don't want to get spoiled, please skip ahead to the next chapter mark in the video or to the time that is now shown on the screen. So after unlocking the next island, Guy and Buddy end up in the jail. First, Guy and Buddy try to get a standing in the jail by killing the toughest and biggest person in the jail. But instead of killing the biggest dude, they kill the best person in jail, and the other inmates doesn't take that easy. After Guy fought off the enemies, they find, while working in a quarry, a skeleton, which freaks out the guards, and the guards call up the Inquisition to the jail. Since the Inquisition wants to burn some inmates in a witch fire, Guy is ordered to chop some wood in a nearby forest. On the way to the forest, Guy meets a herbalist that wants to prep the witch fire with some grass. So the guards are on a trip and the inmates could escape easy. But it's Rustler, nothing ends like it should end. And Guy and Buddy end on a trip themselves. I let the mission run a little bit longer so I can get a feeling what I mean. This is a great section and they did amazing with it. Sadly, after that we end up in the tedious part of the game, where we have to prep for the tournament. And sadly, some of these missions are just horrendous. For example, one of the last missions is to get the armor of a superhero style character, the Iron Maid. This mission did me so dirty, I've got no idea who at Jutsu Games came on the genius idea to toss you around the city fighting against armored police while taking care of a stupid NPC. The NPC is horrible to get what you want him to do. Since he has to follow you through the mission, you also cannot abandon him. And since he's programmed to fight every enemy, he's holding you up every time, while you just try to get to the mission marker on the other side of the city. But exactly that is another point that I want to point out. The game has, instead of a slowly ramping up difficulty, a mix of extremely boring missions where you just run from A to B, to extreme missions where you have to fight through dozens of enemies, and most of these missions come along with a stupid NPC that has to follow you through the whole mission. But thankfully, we have some extremely good side missions that lead you more on the meme side of the game and let you forget your last horrible plot mission. Let's take my favorite side mission chain. The Inquisition that you meet at the jail wants you to get rid of the round earthers. Yeah, they hit on flat earthers, so that's already a good laugh. But the execution of these missions, while being more on the run from A to B side, are extremely well done. So first, we have to try to bring a round earther to understand that the earth is flat, by bringing him to a dock and sail to the end of the world. What obviously fails. But the Inquisition would not be the Inquisition they don't have another plan. And this plan is borderline stupid, but funny. Just capture some round earthers, fight off some military at a military outpost, and shoot a round earther with a trebuchet that he sees the earth is flat. Right? Yeah, the whole chain of missions are just a meme, but fun to do. So when you normally skip side missions, don't do it in Rustler. Just give them a try, so you don't regret it. Okay, let's take a look at the gameplay. First, we check out the movement and combat, since this is impacted by the top-down aspect of the game. Jutsu was so good and gave us 3 options of movement. Option A, which is my favorite for food travel, is a fixed movement, where your movement is locked to the screen. So moving north is pressing W, west, pressing A, etc. I like this because you have a fixed movement that you can control easily, even in a chaotic moment, but lets you down on faster horsebacks. Option B is a miss for me. Your movement is normal, like in a third-person game or first-person game, so it's locked to the facing of your character. Since it is a top-down game, in the end you just spin around your character 24/7 without having a real progress of movement, so if you're into that, yeah, but for me personally it's just a miss. Coming to option Z. Option Z is in my opinion the best mix of both, and the best option for horsebacks, since the first option is quite hindering in a way of smoothness. You often face issues on faster horsebacks where you just hit trees, etc. C gives you the control that the character follows your mouse. As said, this is amazing for smooth control on fast horseback and helps you a lot in races, etc. Only downside with this movement, that it follows your mouse, is that you are getting limited while shooting crossbows or other ranged weapons, since the control of the crossbows, etc. are also via the mouse. That is a good point to get to the combat in the game. Combat itself is quite simple. You have a range and a melee option. In melee, you have 3 options. Dual-wielded heavy weapons, like a scythe. These weapons are quite slow, but hit through blocks and deal a high amount of damage. Then you can have a one-handed weapon that can be paired with a shield. This is the balanced melee setting, where you can easily block everything, even bolts, plus the attack speed is quite high. Last option is a spear. This is good to fight larger groups of enemies, since you have the highest melee range with it. And it can go sometimes through blocks. So you just dance a little bit with the enemy and eliminate everyone one by one. In range combat, you can choose between damage and supportive weapons. So in the damage category, you have 2 different crossbows, one with a magazine that shoots fast, or a single bolt crossbow that deals high damage and has a moderate attack speed. Also, in the end of the game, you can have the chance to get a holy grenade, which deals an extremely high amount of damage. And props to everyone that knows where the holy grenade is coming from. In the supportive category, you have stone and shit. Yeah, shit. Stone is a small amount of damage, but have a good man-stopping power. Shit, in the meanwhile, is just there to debuff your opponents, which can be increased by the skill tree. That is a good point to head over to the skill tree. Yeah, a thing that Rustler has compared to the GTA games. The skill tree is most of the time more quality of life stuff, like pickups on horsebacks, or increases of debuffs and reducing of costs. In the end of the game, you should have the option to max out the whole tree, which turns Guy not into a one-man army, but he can stand his ground. Coming back to the point that it is heavily inspired by GTA, Rustler has also minigames, like the taxi missions or the races in GTA. Here in the game, you have quite similar missions, like the taxi missions, a trucker missions, a cage fight missions, etc. As said, it is simply the same side missions, just in a medieval setting. One last point that we have to talk about is the police mechanic, which is quite bad in my opinion. It is more similar to the meme of Cyberpunk, where police are randomly thrown into your face, even if it's just in your riding path a meter ahead. I also don't see a system behind how the stars are reducing over time. It's sometimes just randomly, since police is always thrown into your face. Thankfully, you can respray your horse in a Pimp My Horse store, like in GTA, which is getting rid of your wanted level instantly. I know it's just a small game, but this system is heavily implied in the game and has to be changed, or needs to be more linear to understand how the stars are working. So after we talked about the story and a little bit about the gameplay, we already head to the conclusion. I already took enough time off you. Is Rustler more than a GTA clone? And is it worth 21 euros? It is totally a GTA clone, but I see it like the devs. They call the game Grand Theft Horse. And I think sometimes it's better to copy something than creating something new that is utter garbage. Also, instead of the normal GTA clone, they gave the game its own soul by bringing it into the medieval ages and take a different humorous path that is not in any GTA game, where you sometimes get hit by a meme that you already forgot and brings you back to laugh way harder about it than you probably should. Now to the question, is it worth 21 euros? This is a hard one, since I can understand the 21 euros, but also you get like 10 hours of gameplay only. And I struggle to see the good replayability of the game, since the humor could be quite boring if you play it over and over again. But thankfully to well-made art and meme decision that I personally sometimes question myself, but laughed way harder than I should, I would say it is worth your money. Also, if you compare it to other 20 euro games that you get right now, they gave you more game time maybe. But often it's more like a grindy section to draw out a game. Here instead, you have 10 hours of gameplay that is really good, and after half a year or so, you can always pick it up and play it again and laugh again. So my conclusions is, if you're into this type of humor, and you need to be in this type of humor, you should give Rustler absolutely a try. You won't regret it. Hey, and thanks for watching my review of Rustler. Since this was my first review video, I'm open for any ideas and things I could do better. I can't tell you how often I rewrote my whole script since I was reading through it, and yeah, that's another point. So if you see a point in the video that I could change or do better, I'm always open for it. Also, I hope you enjoyed it and you stay put for the next review. I will give you a little hint. It's gonna be from the same publisher probably. So maybe you can find out which game I mean. If you know it, write it in the comments. See you next time.